Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Patch and Play, the stream where the patches are made up and the points don't matter. My name's Jimmy, aka Perceptes, and welcome back. This is a stream that I've been doing every week for a little more than 2 months at this point, and it's just a kind of a modular patching hangout. So the idea is that we spend a couple of hours together working on a patch on my modular synthesizer that you see before you. And I don't think too much about what it might be in advance. And we chat about music tech, we chat about modular. I want these streams to be both entertaining and educational. One of my favorite things to do is to teach and to explain things, and to just geek out about the subject I'm interested in. So for anyone that is watching live or will be watching live, I would like to direct what we do based on what you're interested in and questions that you have. So if there isn't anything that is pressing, then I will come up with something so that we have something to do. But regardless of what I'm doing, feel free to interrupt me. Feel free to kind of redirect and give me ideas that you'd like to see, or as I said, questions that you have that maybe I can answer. And they can be about modular in general, or about specific modules that are in my cases, or if you have questions about my workflow or how I achieve a particular thing. Whatever you'd like to know is all fair game. So usually takes a few minutes for people to start trickling in. If anyone is here, please do say hello in the chat so that I know who is watching. And let me get my tea set up. Per the usual, I've got some green tea going on. And I feel like I'm kind of tempting fate a little bit with how close I'm keeping my tea to my very new, fancy, expensive Oxy E16. So hopefully I will not make a disaster of all this fancy electronic equipment live on the internet in front of you all. That would be ideal. I've already started to spill. So what are we going to do today? I set up everything for each stream. I've got both cases and now my new case, the small pod, and then the Oxy 1 and the E16. We obviously don't use all of this stuff every time, but I just like to have all of the options available, both because I don't know what I'm going to do, and also in case people want to know about any of these specific pieces of equipment. This is the second stream where I've had kind of this newer setup where I've got the new 64 HP pod that I got last week, and we used it a little bit. This I got recently for a couple of reasons. One was because I had more modules than fit in my two IntelliGel performance cases, and I thought it would be more useful to at least have them in a case that I could use than just sitting in the closet, being completely useless. And the other reason is that for the sort of deep dive videos that I do on specific modules, or sort of like tips and tricks, techniques types of videos, I wanted something where I could build a setup that was sort of focused on specifically what I was explaining in that video. And that way I can kind of zoom the camera in more, get a nice resolution and clarity on the screen and the controls of the panel. And so the first such video will be out this Wednesday. It's covering mutable instrument stages in combination with a sequential switch, which is vice versa. So take a look for that on Wednesday. I think it came out pretty well, but it only matters whether the audience finds it useful. So you'll have to let me know what you think about the new format, the new zoomed in format. I guess the other news since last week is I thought about this before, but I had someone on YouTube suggest patch notes as like a Patreon bonus. I do have a Patreon account, so if you'd like to support the work that I'm doing in making videos about modular and doing these live streams, that would be greatly appreciated. And the newest sort of paid benefit is patch notes for all of my deep dive videos. So every time I do sort of a talking video rather than a musical performance, and I'm talking about a specific patch or a specific technique or a specific module, any patches I show will have sort of step-by-step instructions that are accessible to Patreon members. So if you want to sort of like recreate what I did for experimentation or learning, then you may find that useful. But I guess that's enough pitching, I think. I don't want to just pitch myself without providing anything worth supporting. So why don't we start making some music? Let me just have a sip of tea and then we'll go. Okay. All right, and again, do say hello in the chat if anyone's here live, and let me know if you have questions. I think what I'm going to start out with this time is, I don't know if I talked about this much last week, but another thing that changed last week in addition to adding this this pod case is I did some rearranging of modules in my other cases to kind of make the performance-oriented modules easier to access. Specifically, this bottom row here, I used to have Timp Legio, the noise engineering sort of 6 HP platform module, in the bottom row. And I moved that out, and I moved the Novgrad out, which used to be on the right edge, to make some more room on the bottom row so that I could fit these three modules next to each other. And let me zoom in on the right case. So this is the Lapsus Os from Noise Engineering, which is just an attenuator and offset utility with 4 sliders that's very performable. And then Mimetic Digitalis from the same company, which is a CV sequencer with 16 steps and 4 channels. And then one of my favorite modules ever, VC Transitions from ADAC System, which is a macro controller where you can use this little horizontal slider to control 5 different outputs with different sort of ranges of CV signal. And you can use this to sort of do macro performance effects, like, you know, kind of a riser or something, and then a drop. So having these all kind of on the bottom row where it's very easy to access with my hand, I'm hoping to kind of focus a little bit more on kind of practicing improvised kind of live set type music. I tend to do sort of like one jam at a time, and it's like fairly pre-planned what it's going to be. But I'd like to kind of start being a little more kind of improvisational. So to that end, maybe let's do a little bit of that today. And try to put these modules here to effect. In particular, I think the combination of Lapsus Os and Mimetic goes really well with these kind of like macro oscillator style modules from Noise Engineering. Usually I use this one on the left as Basimilis Iteritas Alia. That's the actual one that I bought. But I have the overlays that allow you to get the labels for the other firmwares that you can flash onto this platform. So for the last few weeks, I've been experimenting with Incus Iteritas Alia, which is like a slightly different take on kind of the Basimilis idea of a drum module that can do a lot of different sounds. I never really got along with it super well the times I tried it, but then I saw in a sort of a poll that was on Modwiggler that among the Alia firmwares, it seems to be actually one of the more popular ones, and made me think, like, I think the fact that it didn't work well for me is more of a me problem than it is a problem with Incus. So I wanted to sort of spend some more time with it. And what I found is that it is sort of similar to Basimilis in that you can kind of just put the knobs in pretty much any position and get a cool sound. Like, it doesn't really have any non-sweet spots, or I don't know what the term for that is. It's all sweet spots. Like, it's mostly sounds good. And so because of that, it plays really well with kind of like on the fly randomization. So I can like send essentially random CV from Mimetic, because this has a function that allows you to sort of randomize the values for all 16 steps with a single button press combo, a button combo, I guess. And that can give you sort of like, you know, every 8 bars or whatever, essentially a brand new sound on Incus. So I think we're going to look into that. Oh, hey, Mike. Thank you for stopping by again. Good to see you. I got to remember to finish my tea before it gets cold. I'm always doing so much talking during this that I don't actually drink it. Okay, so let's start patching, but before I do any more talking, I think let's start with some drums. So I'm going to patch up the usual suspects. We're going to do Crater as our kick drum, and currently using Fracture as our clap. I swapped this out with Kraken. I think my Kraken module is actually broken. I noticed that the decay pot on it doesn't seem to have any effect, so something got loose behind the panel, methinks, which is kind of a bummer, but it's what happens with hardware. I guess but both hardware and software can fail, just in different ways. Software will fail when you update it, and hardware will fail when the actual physical circuits and other machinery fails. Okay, so I'm patched up Crater as my kick drum and Fracture as the clap. These are both from WMD. And then Noise Engineering Timp Legio is a 6 HP percussion module that I generally use for hi-hats. So those will be kind of our three kind of main sort of standard drum voices. Let me reset all of the values on the mixer. Okay. And trying to decide whether we should use grids for the drum patterns or actually program in something ourselves, maybe using Steppy. I've been actually using Steppy more recently, even though I mentioned not long ago that I don't use it that much. I've been trying to give it a little love. Why don't we use Steppy? Why not? It's kind of the wavelength that I've been on. So this is a 4-channel gate sequencer. It just does gates and triggers, but not CV values. And so let me see, is the short cable going to fit? I think it's a little too short. Yeah. So let's get 4 cables coming from the 4 channels. And we'll do channel A will be our kick drum. Channel B will be our clap. Channel C will be, I guess, our hi-hat. And then channel D, I'm going to put into Incus Iteritas Alia. And this is going to be, I guess I need a slightly longer cable there. Incus is going to be kind of more our more dynamic voice. I think the other 3 will leave more or less static. And Incus is going to be kind of like the point of interest, I guess. Skinnerd. I guess I haven't been taking requests for particular songs. That's a good idea for a stream. Like, people request a particular song and I have to patch something to recreate that song. I don't know. Maybe that's not such a good idea. Okay. Steppy does not have its own clock source, so we need to give it a clock. And I'm thinking maybe some techno today. So let's get this guy set up. I'm going to reset Pamela's Pro Workout from whatever I was doing before. And let's do maybe 140 BPM, kind of techno range. And then we want to give a 16th note clock. So the clock input will come from the 4x output, and then we will take the stop output on the PAMS expander, and we'll send that to the reset input on Steppy. And so now when I press the big yellow button, that causes Steppy to advance in time of the clock, and every time I stop it, it'll send a reset signal so that when I start it again, it'll start at the beginning. So let's, before I program at a beat, we need to actually connect our output. so we can hear something. Okay. Okay, there's our main output. Let me unmute our 4 drum voices. And let's make sure we can hear something. So I'm going to go on to, let me switch to my right case view. All right, so we're on page 1 of channel A. Let's get 4 on the floor going. Make sure we can hear something. How does that sound? It sounds quiet to me, but I need the audience to tell me how loud that sounds compared to my voice, whether you can hear me okay. It sounds very quiet to me. I might need to turn something up here. We need a little distortion on that kick drum. For techno, yeah? Okay, channel B, let's just do the off beats, or the backbeat, I guess. This will be fracture. Let's see, do I have the, yeah, sound? It's all the way up. Okay, and just need to dial in a clap sound. Oh, it sounds loud. Maybe I just need to turn up my own headphones. 1 second. Okay, well, as long as you can hear both me and the music clearly, then we're fine. It's really the balance between the two that I don't necessarily know how the live audience is perceiving it. Okay, sounds good. Let's go to channel C. So that's just straight 16ths on our hi-hat. Maybe let's actually do, let me do 8th note values, not 16ths. To start. A kick drum might be a little much. Let's dial it back for a second. And then right away, I want to go into Incus. I think for Incus, oh, we need to actually send the audio out of Incus into the mixer, otherwise we're not going to hear anything. Okay, this might be loud also, I'm not sure. Let's get all the knobs kind of at 0. Okay, and then we're going to switch to the 4th channel of step E, which is triggering Incus, and let's do straight 16ths on those. That doesn't seem right. So the attack and decay on Incus is kind of strangely designed. It's like not super intuitive to me, but usually you have like 2 separate controls, one for the attack time and one for the decay time. But on Incus you have a single knob called time, which is like the total amount of time that the sound takes. And then you have an attack knob, which actually has multiple functions depending on which way you turn it. So if you turn it to the right, then it'll have kind of like the usual sort of attack function, where the farther you turn it, the longer it takes for the volume of the sound to ramp in on a trigger. With a short sound like this, you can't really hear the difference. Actually, let's do this. Let's just put it. Let's do a kind of a slow, offbeat sort of sound, and I might need to increase the volume, the pitch. Oh yeah, it was super low, so that's why we didn't hear anything. I've got all of the knobs down except for attack. I have it noon, which is kind of the default position for an instant attack. And then you can see the time knob. If you have it all the way counterclockwise, it's like just a little click. And then as you bring it in, you get longer notes. So this is the total time that it takes from trigger to full decay. And if I want more of that total time to be spent ramping up to its maximum volume, then I turn the attack knob clockwise. Right? And then if you turn the attack knob counterclockwise, it like adds noise, I think. So this is like, if you were using it as like a macro drum oscillator, this is where you would get your like snare and hi-hat sort of sounds. It just adds a burst of noise to the sound. And the decay of the noise lasts longer the farther counterclockwise you turn it. So I think we want a fairly short sound with instant attack. And let's just, before I change any of the other controls, let's try the 3 different modes. It's got 3 different sort of synthesis modes: grind, impact, and heavy. I've got it on grind right now. So impact is this, I think, the same thing as grind, except that it adds a pitch envelope right at the beginning of the attack, so you can use it for like kick drum sounds. And then heavy doesn't sound different here. I can't remember what's actually different about this mode, but I think you won't hear any difference until you start messing with the other controls. So let's leave it on grind for now. And I'm trying to remember. So the shape control, I believe, is just the shape, like literally the shape of the waveform. Temper is like a wave folder. But the really interesting controls are the ones on the left, alloy and weight. And it's been a week already since I messed with this, so I've kind of once again forgotten the way they explain it. But they influence each other. If you turn up weight when alloy is all the way counterclockwise, then you get just kind of like overdrive, basically, or saturation. But if you turn up alloy, then at each position of alloy, weight will do something slightly different. It's essentially like weight is kind of like a detuning of the oscillators, and alloy is kind of like how the oscillators are balanced against each other. Because I think this is like a additive FM kind of engine. So you can make some pretty wild sounds with this. So let me mute it for a second. What I want to do is kind of just do kind of random modulations of this and see what I get. So I'm going to patch 4 CV sequences from Mimetic, and I'm going to send them into the Lapsus Os so that I can attenuate each channel separately. So again, Mimetic is a 16-step CV sequencer with 4 channels. So you can have 4 16-step sequences. And I'm going to send each of them into the equivalent 4 channels into the attenuation input on Lapsus Os. And then Lapsus Os has 2 outputs for each channel, so you can easily molt them to two different locations. Let's use these cables. You know what? Let's use the green ones. Why not? Okay, so from here, I'm going to take the first channel into, maybe I'll do alloy, because that's kind of like the most fundamental thing that changes the sound. And then into weight. And then maybe shape. The shape of the underlying waveform. And then finally, we'll go into temper, which is the distortion. So let's see, how well can you see that? I think decently well. So the other thing we need to do is we need to have another, like a 4x clock that's coming through. So actually what I can do is I can unpatch the clock from, is this going to work? Yeah, I think it should be fine, because we don't really care about the reset for this. So if I plug this, the 16th note clock into the N input, I don't know how well you can see that, but this row controls how this advances, because similar to Steppy, it doesn't have its own clock source, so you have to send it a trigger to advance the steps. But the handy thing is that it includes a trigger output, so that every time it receives a trigger, it also sends a trigger out. And so I can essentially use that to molt the trigger that we're using to clock both Mimetic and Steppy by plugging this in here. There we go. Okay, so now I should be able to stop Pamela's Pro, press the yellow button on Pamela's Pro Workout to stop both of them. And then when I start again, we get our sequences going again. It doesn't have an equivalent sort of pass-through for the reset function, but because we're just kind of doing randomness here and we don't really care about like a cohesive pattern that starts at a particular point, I think it's fine that it doesn't reset. And if it ends up mattering, we can always do a molt manually. Okay, so if I press, these buttons here turn on like which of the 4 channels you're controlling when you make edits. And if you hold down the load button and press shred, it will pick a random CV value for every step for all of the channels you have selected. So essentially I've just randomized 64 steps by having all 4 channels on and shredding, doing the, a shred all. And so what should happen is if I start to now bring in the value of that alloy, I don't hear anything. Oh, did I take the trick? Oh, I muted it, that's why. I have to unmute. Okay, there's our trigger. So I'm going to start bringing in the currently fully attenuated channel 1 from Mimetic. And that's affecting alloy, which doesn't sound that different, but it'll be more obvious once we bring in weight. And then shape. And then temper. So that's a pretty cool sound, just from random CV. And then, of course, each of these can obviously be attenuated separately. And so at each position of attenuation, you have like so many combinations of different sounds you can get just by changing the attenuation. That's wild. And then at any time, I can just shred the entire sequence again on Mimetic. get something completely different, which also can be completely differently changed by different attenuation amounts. So this was like a sort of a longer time. But if I do something really kind of like a snappy envelope, then let's try putting it on all 16 steps. Because when we were only triggering a couple of times per bar, most of the CV that was being provided by Mimetic was actually not being used for anything, because there wasn't something being triggered on that step anyway. Okay, pretty awesome. I think, let's see what to do with this. Well, a couple of things I feel are very obviously missing. One is a bass line, and two is effects. And I think maybe we'll do the effects first. So let me get my big long cables and we'll set up C legs as a send, or actually maybe the black stereo delay and reverb would be good for this. I'm torn. Nah, let's just do C legs for now. We can set the other one up, other effects up on the other send. Okay, so into C legs and back out of C legs into our return channel. All right. And let me mute. I guess we'll add a little bit of... oh, we need to clock this too. So let me get a 4x clock. And the 16th notes going into the clock input of C legs will give us a synced delay. Okay, and let's turn that back on and get some good effects going on the snare to start with. Do we want these to be long or short? I think I kind of like the long ones. Hey, Brees. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you as always. So today we're doing some improvised techno using Steppy to sequence Crater, Fracture, and Timpleggio as kick, clap, hi-hat. And then we're doing kind of random modulations from Mimetic through Lapsus Os into Incus, Iteritas, Alia to give us a kind of percussive but also melodic and quirky sort of like techno vibe. And right now I'm just setting up C legs as a send effect to get some delay going on this. Looks like I need more drive on this guy. Okay, and let's bring back in Incus. Let's give this a lot of delay. Maybe we should do... That's too fast. We definitely want to be in BBD mode on the delay. I think this is fine. Let's give it a lot of color. this just, it's like, you could just do this forever and have cool, glitchy beats. Let's get a little more kick drum in there. Hey Tyler, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. I'm doing well. Always having a blast doing these streams. Today we're making some crazy beats with Incus, Iteritas, Alia, and some random CV. Yeah, Mimetic is awesome. Supposedly the new version of it can do everything that the original did, but I don't know. I didn't feel somehow as compelled. I think in general, I'm trying to limit the number of screens that I have and like highly versatile digital modules. I mean, I'm sure if I didn't have Mimetic already, then I'd probably, the new one would have been caught my interest more, but very often I get kind of like the new version of something when it comes out, but I don't know, for whatever reason that one didn't scream to me. I mean, this is just like, I could literally spend all day just moving these sliders around and listening. So I think at least everyone who's in the chat has been here before, so you've heard my spiel many times, but just to reiterate, I mean, I'm kind of just YOLOing this, but if anyone wants to see anything in particular or has any particular questions, please interrupt me, as I would much rather do what you want to do than have me just flail around. That's the whole purpose of it being live as opposed to just a video. Alright, let's shred this and get a new pattern. I guess I should really be kind of modulating the time also, so we can hear kind of more of the voice. Maybe we'll get some LFOs going. I honestly need another lapsus off so I can do more attenuation of other stuff. Because usually I use lapsus os for like attenuating LFOs and stuff, but in this sort of setup it uses the entire module just for controlling the CV sequences into Incus. And so I'm gonna have to use Quadrat for attenuating LFOs. Let's do that though. So let's take, I think I'm going to use a unipolar LFO. I'll just start with the top oct LFO. And so I'm going to get this to be as short as I would ever like. So you just barely hear it, like a little snap. And then let's send the full strength version of that into the time input. Oh, I think we need this to be much slower. Let me pick a different output. Maybe attenuate that a little bit. I'm gonna really slow this down. Let's try a different output. I want it to be fairly slow, like. Or maybe not actually. Maybe fast is good, but just attenuated, so it doesn't get too long. Question from Tyler. Thoughts on Traffic? Someone is selling one locally and I feel it's pretty cool and useful, but not sure if it's worth it because I don't have a BI plates or similar. I like it. I think it's really cool. It is definitely. Let me mute this for a second. So the module that Tyler is asking about is Traffic, which is let me zoom in on my right case. That's this guy. I think we have used it before in one of my live streams. I'm trying to remember. I know we used Water, which is another alternative firmware. And I would, if you're thinking about it, I would say that there's use to it even if you're not using one of those kind of macro oscillators, which is kind of the main use case for traffic. And the reason is because it comes with two other firmwares flashed on it. And it also comes with the faceplates for free. Well, I mean, not for free, but like when you buy one of the modules, you get all three of them in the same way as the sort of noise engineering platform modules. Water is really interesting. If you go back to, I mean, maybe you were here that day. I think it was maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We did a stream where we used the Water firmware as kind of like a cyclical pitch sequencer, and we made a drone that was different oscillators kind of operating at different offsets from the same sequence and fading in and out with LFOs, and it made this really pretty sort of like harmonic progression. So that's cool. Water is a very cool sequencer. I really like that idea. And then the third firmware is called Hotel, and I only tried it once when I first got Traffic, and to be honest, I don't remember very well what it does, but I think it's just kind of another sort of like modulation station sort of thing. So, it's just more bang for your buck. But if you buy it specifically for Traffic, then I think I wouldn't get it just because it's a cool module. I would say maybe you want to have a particular use case in mind. For those that don't know, the idea of Traffic is that it allows you to use multiple trigger sequences and sort of sum them together to send to a single module that can produce a variety of sounds. So Incus is actually a good example of that with different settings on Incus, you can get drum sounds that sound wildly different from each other that you wouldn't, you can make a kick drum and a snare drum and a hi-hat all on the same module. So what Traffic does is you give it 3 different trigger patterns, like kick, snare, hi-hat is kind of the traditional example. And then it sums them together, sends out a single trigger for all of them. But depending on which of the 3 triggers at the input caused that sum trigger, it will send one of 3 different values for 3 different sets of CV signals. So it essentially allows you to program per trigger what the settings on the destination module should be. And that allows you to get like a full drum part out of a single module that is versatile. So it pairs really well with mutable instruments plates, which has a bunch of different engines in it, with Incus, with Basimilis Iteritas Alia, which is the module that I bought this as. But you can flash it onto any of the Alia modules. So if you have a module like that, or you're planning to get one, then I think Traffic is pretty great, especially if you want to sort of like maximize your like space in your case. If you're doing like anything portable or anything that you want to like take to a live gig or something, and you want to minimize the number of modules that you need for like a full drum section, then that's like a no-brainer combination. But if that's not your particular use case, then you might not find that it's like the best use of space in your case. It's definitely fun to play with though. And I feel like there's probably some creative uses of it that you could find something to do with it without that sort of default use case. Because even though it's designed around kind of like being the sort of macro controller for a macro oscillator, like ultimately CV is just CV. So you can use it to modulate anything else in accordance with a trigger pattern. And you don't even have to use the trig sum output. Like you could essentially use it kind of what I'm doing with Mimetic here, which is you just send some trigger sequences in and set different amounts so that you get different CV per step, and you're essentially creating sort of an interesting CV pattern, and you can send that to anything and get interesting results. So I suspect that you could find uses for it that would be that would make it worthwhile, but because I don't know that you like, I can't guarantee that you'll like find a good result from that. So I don't know that I would like suggest it as, versus like buying something else for that slot in your case. So that's my kind of rambly thoughts on Traffic. based on at least the way you asked that, of like being on the fence and not necessarily having the right modules for its sort of default use case. But hopefully that was helpful. I sometimes think about taking it out of my case also, because like you can see in this section up here, I've got actually like essentially like multiple ways to sequence drums and triggers. I've got Steppy, obviously, which was the first one I got. Actually, that's not true. I had Grids first. And Grids is like another sort of like generative trigger sequencer. And then I got Steppy so that I could program in specific patterns rather than just using the pre-programmed ones in Grids. And then I got the Oxy 1, and so I can use the CV outs here to program drums. And then Traffic I got to kind of, for its default use case of kind of using essentially sending 3 patterns from Grids into Traffic into Basimilis to do kind of interesting and fun things. I tend not to use it as a substitute for this kind of thing. I tend to use it more for kind of what I'm using Incus for in today's patch, which is like just doing wacky, rhythmic, weird noises. I feel like that's a good use for Traffic. So it kind of does very similar to what I'm doing here, except it would be 3 channels instead of 4. But that's an example of like how you can use it for a few different sort of like results, even within its default use case. Yeah, no problem. Happy to help. Okay, I've missed at least a couple of comments. Let's see what's going on. Send an LFO through a VCA. Use step random to attenuate it. Ah, that's true. Should we do that? That might be more interesting than the LFO then, or just using a flat attenuation. Yeah, why don't we do that? Okay, so let me get a shorter cable. Let us send. I could use an even shorter one. Try to maximize my cable economy. Okay, so we're going to send that LFO, that unipolar LFO, into our linear VCA, and then we're going to send the output of that into the time input of Incus, and then we just need to decide what to modulate it with. I guess we could use one of the sort of stepped random signals from the oct expander. Oops. Try to get my color coordination going. Let's just try one and see what we get. Oh yeah. Good idea, Breeze. This is a lot more interesting than just an attenuated, like a statically attenuated LFO. I think the step random modulation goes perfectly with this kind of like essentially just roll the dice and see what you get kind of modulation. Let's try it again, get something new from Mimetic. Let's vary our drum pattern a little bit too. Get maybe like another kick drum. I don't know if that's very techno. Techno is usually pretty straightforward on the floor. I like that though. Let's maybe... yeah. And then maybe a little swing on our hi-hat. May not be super audible. Let me see. Let me turn this off for a second. Oh, I think it's swing on the 16th note division, so they may not hear anything on this. I would have to turn on every step. Yeah, there you can hear the swing. That might actually sound cool, though. Yeah, I kind of like that. And let's maybe turn down the probability of the hi-hat triggering, so we get a little bit of gap in there. Yeah, you could charge your phone through CD. I mean, I assume you're referring to, I don't know if you saw this, but the top left module in my 1 Euro on the left case is actually a USB jack, and it's literally just plugged into the 5 volt in the power supply underneath the modules, and I use it to power stuff that is USB powered that I'm using with the modular. So this unholy spaghetti nest of cables over here is actually the Oxy 1 sending USB, let's see what it is. It's like chained through the Oxy E16 and then into the USB here, so that both of them are getting powered from the bus port of the modular. It's pretty wacky. But then these two are also connected to each other, so that means that the E16 and the Oxy 1 can also talk to each other over USB MIDI at the same time that they're being powered. Yep. Exactly. But it's pretty handy, otherwise I have to run cables under the desk, which is kind of a pain. Okay, I feel like this needs more C legs. And maybe we want some reverb on this. Oh, I have the delay muted. That makes more sense. I was like, what the hell is going on? Let's have a short delay, or a short reverb. This is pretty rad. We need to get some modulation going on the delay though, right? Okay, now I've got too much delay. I think I cranked it up a little high. Another question. A video about Icaria. I don't know why I say Icaria sometimes. Icaria. I'm trying to find a second filter for my case for the stereo. Holding you back. There's apparently a known clicking issue. Okay. Let me turn this off again to answer. So the question is about Icaria, which is this stereo filter right here. Let me zoom in. And let me turn off the color so we're not getting that constant sound. Icaria is a stereo filter. And the question is, do you have a clicking or scratchiness while sweeping the cutoff knob? So usually if you hear a scratchy sort of sound, that's kind of like a little, like just little kind of zips of like, zip isn't the right word, but like little wisps of like white noise almost, or like an old record player. That can be caused by like a bad connection on a potentiometer. I've had an audio interface that does that, where when you change the volume of the headphones while you're listening to something, then you hear that kind of scratchy sound. And I've also actually experienced it, ironically, with Dual Dagger, which is this stereo filter in my light colored case. And it's weird because like I thought, or maybe I was imagining it, but I thought I was getting some sort of scratchiness on the low pass filter, but then it doesn't seem to do it anymore. So maybe I was imagining it or something. But no, I don't think, at least in my experience, I have not experienced any sort of like scratchy pot sort of sounds with Icaria. So it's possible that it's at some particular setting that I never use, but I suspect more likely that it's just like someone who had one with a bad connection, and that's fixable. Like you can repair it. I don't know much about electronics. I'm not like a DIY guy, so I wouldn't repair it myself, but you could return it to Bastel Instruments for repair, or if there's like a shop locally that, or anyone you know that is like kind of a good at electrical engineering tasks, then I'm sure it's actually a fairly trivial fix. But you'll have to tell me like where you heard that, whether it was like multiple people reporting it or whether it was just one person. Because if it was just one, then I would think it's more likely that it's probably just like a bad connection on that person's particular module. But if you say known issue as in like it happens to a lot of people, then I can only say that it hasn't happened to me, but that does not mean that it isn't a real thing. So if you're buying it new, there's not as much risk, because if it has a problem, you can return it. If you're buying it secondhand, that might be more of a concern. I can see for sure. So again, like think about like, is there something specific that you need that filter for? And if so, is it worth the risk of potentially getting something that is not working the way you want it to just because of the feature set you want? I think it's a great filter, as obviously you saw my video where I described it as my favorite filter, and that's absolutely the case. But if it had a problem like that, then I could see thinking maybe it wasn't worth it. I've kind of actually felt that way about Dual Dagger, that it's one thing I don't like about Dual Daggers, and I think Shackmat does this on several of their modules, is that in order to save space on the front panel, they sometimes put certain settings on that are changed by a jumper on the back of the module. So if you want to change it, you can't do it while the power is on. In the case of Dual Dagger, what that is that it's got a jumper on the back that controls the range of the resonance. By default, if you turn the resonance all the way up, the filter will self-oscillate. But if you change the jumper on the back of the module, it limits the maximum value of the resonance so that even when it's all the way clockwise, it won't self-oscillate. And I don't need to change it really that often, but it's kind of a bummer that there isn't just a switch on the front. Like, I mean, you can see there's other switches here. They could have just put a fourth switch right here in the same place, and I don't think it would have decreased the playability. So maybe there's some other reason why they did it that way. And I feel like I've also had some other issues with Dual Dagger that kind of annoy me from time to time. So I ended up actually not using it as much as my other filters. But anyway, so it's, some of these things are kind of like a personal preference thing. Like some of these kinds of problems may bother one person more than another. Or it may affect some aspect of the module that you don't even use, and then it doesn't matter. And sometimes, because they're physical devices, there are variations between two copies of the same module. And there's all sorts of things that can go wrong with the electronics that might cause, slightly different behavior between different copies of the same module. But no, I for Icaria specifically, I struggle to find anything about it that I dislike. It's pretty great. I guess the only thing that would make Icaria even better is if the cutoff knob had like a detent at the center position. Actually, the videos that I watched of it before I got it, the way that the person was turning it made it look like there was a detent there. But they were just like really precise with their finger movements, it turns out. But like when you get to this, because this knob is like, let me zoom in on the right again. This knob is bipolar, so at the noon position, the filter is bypassed, and then when you turn counterclockwise, it's low pass, and when you turn it clockwise, it's high pass, like DJ style filter. And so if you want it to be open, like you want the filter to be open without either low pass or high pass, you have to set it to noon, but like it doesn't stick there. So you have to be able to see it visually, and it's an approximation because, it's an analog filter. So you'll always be a little bit off, but I just would love if it had a little bit of a stick there so you could just kind of dial in that neutral setting without too much trouble. But yeah, other than that, I don't have much more to say than what I said in the video about it, that it's great and has so many uses. And for me, like, interface is almost everything. I think the interface is almost more important than the sound. That if I really like the interface is really intuitive, that's what makes me the most happy with a module. I think all of the modules that I like the most are ones that's just like, I couldn't have designed this better. This is really like ideal for what it does. And I think Icaria is a great example of that. VTOM? I've not heard of them. Releasing one heck of a stereo filter. Giant modules and character and crazy modulation matrix. Oh, interesting. I've never heard. How do you pronounce that? VTOM or TheTom? I've never heard of that company. What else do they make? Also, let's get our music going again. Too much chatter. I keep giving these long-winded answers and then we don't get our Incus. Oh, 3-tom. My bad, didn't mean to stick on your typo. I just had never heard of it before, so I didn't realize what it was actually called. What's your setup like, Tyler? What are you using modular for? And kind of, do you have something big and performance oriented like this, or are you doing something more small and targeted? What are your goals? Brees, I guess I'm one of the lucky 10,000. I'll have to take a look. Faka BF22. I mean, there's so many good and interesting filters. I think if you have any hesitation about a particular filter, I think that's reason enough to just try something else, because there are just so many choices and so many good ones that, like, just because you don't have one that I said was great doesn't mean you're making a mistake by picking something else. It's just my opinion, and also it's my limited experience too. Like, I haven't tried every filter, so it could be a zillion filters that are better than Icaria. It's just the best one that I have. Actually, you know what? There's another filter that I was really seriously considering. It's a South American company. What are they called? The filter is called Imagenes, I think is how you pronounce it. God, what is that? They have kind of like silver panels with blue text. I can't remember a lot of details, but I had saw some demos of it where it sounded really, really nice. And it's got like some kind of built-in like drive on the circuit. I mean, I guess Icaria has drive also on its input, but the drive on Imagenes sounded really good. I wish I could remember the name of the name of the company is escaping me. I think they're from I want to say they're from Brazil maybe, or Peru. I forget which country it is. I'm not doing not doing a good service to them by remembering what they're called or where they're from. My apologies, South American Modular Company. Maybe Brees will know what I'm talking about. Another thing we could do here is let's go to our D channel and let's do some probability on this too. Because right now we're hitting all 16 steps. But I just changed it so that there's like a 60% probability that every trigger will hit. So this will give us different results on each loop, even without shredding. I actually don't overdrive filters that much, even given that it's something that attracted to me to that Improvised. I mean, it's the thing with modulars, like there's so many things that you can do, but I feel it's like almost like, yes, Olivella Modular. That is the company I was trying to remember. Thank you, Patsy. Also, welcome to the stream, too. I feel like there's a few people that have talked that I haven't said hello to. Appreciate you all being here. Yes, Olivella Modular is the company that makes Improvised. I believe that's also it's stereo, but it has. Oh man, I wish I could remember more details about it. I feel like that's one I'm like destined to get at some point, just because it seems so interesting. And it's got some like. I should really just not talk about it until I refresh myself, but it had some interesting sort of stereo effects also, beyond just kind of like dual input, dual output. Like it has like ways that the two channels could influence each other, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, man, there's a lot of filters that I would like to try, but I mean, that's like full nerd territory to like get a bunch of different modules that all do the same thing. It's like a fairly basic function, but for whatever reason, it's the kind of thing that gets us excited, right? It's just like, how many filters do you need? Well, the answer is many, if not all. I wonder if we should add another voice to this, because a while ago I said we needed to add a bass line as well as effects, and then I did effects, but I didn't actually add a bass line. So what are we going to use to sequence the bass line? I guess we'll just do a. I think we want something very simple, like just kind of a one-note rhythmic bass line. Maybe we'll use Iteritas Alia for our bass. And maybe I'll just do a, let's turn this off for a second. Maybe I'll do just a Euclidean sequence from Pam. That would be something easy to do. Okay, let me find a long cable because we're going all the way from left to right. And we'll go out of output 1 into the trigger of Debel, Iteritas Alia. Noise engineering gets a lot of love in my cases, as you can see. Okay, what are we going to do Euclidean-wise? Brees, you have 12 filters? Oh my god. That's awesome. I mean, but I think you've been doing modular a lot longer than I have. And that's another thing I should say also as a caveat to my opinions about this stuff is like, I've been doing electronic music a long time, but modular only for a few years. So there's a wide world of things that I have never tried personally. And so I can only speak to what I've read for things that I don't own. And basically everything you see here is the limit of my experience with modular, outside of VCV Rack. Like I haven't used anything that you don't see here. Okay, let's do, let's give a 16th note bass line. And Euclidean steps, let's do some odd combination like 17 and 11. And we'll give it, we probably don't need any padding. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, let me just play. Oh, of course we're going to need to actually output the audio. That is a must. So let's go back here. Oh, did Tyler answer what I asked before? Yeah, Tyler, I'm curious about your setup. Brees, I know a bit about his setup because I've watched his channel a bunch. But yeah, anyone else here, I would love to know what you're doing in modular, kind of like how your setup compares to what I'm doing and what your goals are. Yes, VC. I mean, I wouldn't actually say that VCV Rack was the gateway drug in my case, because I was pretty interested in starting with hardware from the beginning, and I kind of just used VCV very briefly because I felt like it was kind of doing my due diligence. It's just like, if I really didn't like this, then it would save me a lot of time and money, but I was pretty sure that I was interested in doing the hardware thing. I'm not sure if I really told y'all about my background before, but I learned music mostly in the 90s. And this was kind of, hardware was still how you made music at that time, and it was just starting to go into mostly software. And it was kind of like, I guess, around late 90s or early 2000s when it was like everyone just makes music on a laptop with entirely software. And for me, like having grown up in the hardware era, like I like the hardware. I thought it was fun to have blinking lights and knobs to turn, and getting a new piece of hardware has always felt different to me than getting a new plugin for my DAW. Like it just doesn't have the same feel. And for something that I do for fun, I want it to be as fun as possible. I'm not so interested in like, can I achieve thing X using software? Well, yes, of course, but I don't enjoy that. And so that was one of the reasons why I was pretty sure that once I kind of learned about modular and saw what I could do, I was like, this is not only is this a fun way to do hardware again, but it's also like the perfect blend of left brain, right brain for me, that I'm doing sort of problem solving and kind of like very brainy sort of, not necessarily mathematical, but just like logical and kind of puzzling your way through how to achieve something. And then when you solve the puzzle, the result is music. Like, I just can't think of a better combination of things that kind of really, really click for my brain. So that's why in my case, I wouldn't say that VCV Rack was a drug, because I was kind of like, yeah, I'll take one hit of this cigarette before I move on to pot. Like that was basically, I already knew what I wanted, to be totally honest. I mean, the DAW is fine. I'm not knocking it by any means. This is just, again, like obviously you can achieve everything in software or more or less that you can with hardware. It's really just about what do you enjoy, what inspires you to want to actually turn your gear on and use it. And I mostly don't really experience that with software. And for years I was not doing music because I was like, I have a big blank slate of a bunch of windows and a zillion infinite plugins, and just, I don't feel like I want to do that. And so, I mean, it's a testament that like, yes, I could make this similar kind of just like random techno sounds easily with software, but I didn't. And that makes a huge difference. Like, just, are you actually using your stuff? That's whatever it takes to get you to use it and have fun. Oh yeah, no worries, Tyler. I was just curious. A single 187U104 case. Okay, yeah. So not super different, like couple like slightly different sizes, but very similar. I don't know. I would actually be curious to know whether for people that are into modular, whether it's more common to have this kind of groove box setup like I have, where it's like, I'm trying to do a full song just with modular, and I'm not using it to like sound design for the purposes of sampling and making a song later with whatever I came up with in modular. Like, I'm trying to do a performance where all of the drums, all of the melodic voices come from the same two boxes, and everything needs to be achieved within this sort of setting. I'm curious whether that's more popular or whether it's more of a sort of sound design playground that people use to come up with new and interesting sounds, which they then sample to finish a song with elsewhere, or even just, making weird sounds and that being the end of it, not doing anything with it beyond the sort of sound design process. I don't actually know like what's a more popular usage of modular among the people that are really into it. Yes, it indeed got my clock going as well. Okay, let's unmute our new bass line. Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah. Yeah, I think so too, Used. I think it's probably less often the Groovebox thing. I think that people that perform with modular a lot of times have supplemental gear like a drum machine or something, and they're not trying to do everything in the case. Okay, you know what? Since we've been talking about Drive, I think we should send this through Icaria. And let's drive this sucker. Out of cables. Alright, I'm driving it all the way. Oh, that's maybe too much. Oh no, actually, if I just bring the low pass down a bit. This sounds awesome. Yeah, that's an interesting usage, Breeze. I'm not sure how often. I guess I think there's an aspect of what I do that is that, and I kind of alluded to that with this sort of like talking about modular being like a problem to solve that ends in music. Sometimes it's a sound design thing that I'm trying to solve, but very often, you're right, it is like a sequencing thing. Also, we got to sidechain the bass, because that needs to be a little more dynamic. Do I need to actually use the compressor? Well, might as well. Longer cable. Sidechain. Oh, this is wrong. I actually need to mold this. I am messing up here. Hold on. I've done this completely wrong. We need one cable into our sidechain. Let's get that other cable back. This guy. Go here. I should know how to do this because I just did a video on it last week. Come on, guys. Come on, Jimmy. You can do better than that. Okay, and then our other mod is going to be here. Is this long enough? It show is. Alright, there's our kick again. And then we need our envelope going into the expander. And let's set up a quick modulation for this. Okay, that sounds decent. What do you think? Does the sidechain sound okay to y'all? Or is that bass too cut away now? It's maybe a little too driven. Let me bring it back just a tad. There we go. Maybe a little more filter modulation. Yeah, there we go. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, mutable instruments, I mean, like many, I was very inspired by them. Both what the modules can do and also, like I said earlier, the UI and the design. I think they're so beautiful to look at. So I think, for me, aesthetics counts for a lot. I mean, obviously, a guy who has arranged his cases into the light zone and the dark zone cares a lot about aesthetics. And for me, user interface and the just kind of the beauty of the design goes a long way. So for both practical and aesthetic reasons, there's a lot of mutable in my case. I mean, honestly, I would love to have all of the modules that they made, but I don't know that I'm actually going to do that. Maybe someday. I don't know if you guys have seen, I assume if you watch a lot of modular YouTube, Gaz Williams was doing like mutable instruments case challenge where he was going to, like, events that he would go to, he would bring his all mutable case that had one of every module that Mutable Instruments ever made, and have each person like kind of sit down and do something for an hour and see what they come up with, and just see, kind of like what I'm doing, just like see where it goes. And everyone was making something very different with the exact same set of modules. Oh, don't worry about it. It's better to make good sounds than it is to be pretty. I mean, it is music after all. That is the goal. But again, you know, do what makes you happy. This is a hobby. It's all about enjoying your life. And if you, for all the people that just like collecting the gear and don't even make any music, like, you know, the usual joke, you know what? That's fine too. It's okay to collect things. Lots of people do that. You changed the faceplate on beads and it caused it not to fit in the case? That's kind of weird. Is it something where you can just shave off the edge of the PCB to make it fit? Like it was just manufactured slightly wrong? Or is there... I don't know how that could happen. Yeah, it's definitely an expensive hobby. It's like a very much like the privileged person's hobby. But you know, there's a lot of dumb stuff that people spend huge amounts of money on in the world, and and I feel like something that at least creates music is a much better thing. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to crap on anyone's hobby or interest, but at least for me personally, like the idea of spending money on something that can create art seems much more worthwhile than, you know, expensive watches or clothes or something. But, you know, whatever makes you happy. A little drop for you guys. A Chinese couple at a Chinese modular fair wanted one of those cabinet cases full of modules, just a nice piece of furniture to look at. Oh man, that's funny. I wonder what modules they picked for aesthetics. Like, I could imagine, like, I mean, my partner has some cabinets upstairs that have teacups in them, like a teacup collection with glass windows, so they're mostly just, we don't use them very often, so it's mostly just aesthetic. But I feel like my version of that would be just a bunch of mutable instruments modules, right? Get the Funkadelic. Thank you very much, and thank you for stopping by the stream. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, it makes me think, where you said that the year roundup of your analog that you did last year, where you went through like every single module that your analog sells, all in one giant rack. Like that was very aesthetically pleasing, even ignoring the function of all of those modules. Just a wall of things that all share the same design is quite pleasing. For the same reason that so many people comment on my mostly mutable case. You know, something that is kind of a problem though when you do care about the aesthetics is that like little differences in sort of the designs of the modules can be kind of annoying. So like the light colored faceplates that Noise Engineering uses, I don't know if you can see this on the stream, let me see. Yeah, you probably can't really tell at the, kind of the lighting and the resolution, but this faceplate is a slightly different color of gray than sort of the mutable instruments and Intelligible silver look. And so like at a distance it looks kind of all the same color, but when you're close up it's like kind of a little off, and that kind of makes my eye twitch sometimes. I don't think I have a good example of that in the right case, but another thing that's changed recently with, or I guess it's not really a change, but the manufacturing process for these overlays that Noise Engineering sells for their platform modules, these are also slightly different shades of dark gray or black that are just kind of like, luck of the draw, essentially. So it's really funny. When I first got the faceplate for Tauros Iteritas Alia, which is the drone oscillator, they sent me a faceplate that was the same nice black color, but it had some of the labels wrong. Like it had just been a misprint where it had labels from different Alia modules on it. And so I let them know, and they were like, oops, that was a mistake. We're going to have new ones manufactured. And they sent a new one with the labels corrected, but the correct labeled version was a different color of dark than this. So it was like, oh man, I lost I didn't get the best of both worlds. Fully dark, like kind of pitch black module faceplate that also had the correct labels. I had to choose between either the wrong labels or the wrong color of black. But it's not something that they're going to fix because it's just like, very slight differences in the manufacturing process, and it only matters to like complete nerds like me that are like going for this kind of idealized color aesthetic, So, just funny tales from the trenches of being a modular nerd. I'm not sure, well, maybe, Reese, I'm not sure, at least within the context of my case, I'm not sure I agree, because I do have, the only your analog module that I have is Compare 2, and I think it actually looks fine with, it has the black stripe, obviously, which the other modules don't, but for me, what at least catches my eye more is just the color of the silver on the faceplate. Like the noise engineering stuff has kind of like a solid gray, and most of these, like the mutable instruments and IntelliGel and your analog ones, all have that kind of like silver shiny kind of texture to them, which I think looks nicer than kind of like the matte gray that noise engineering uses. So the thick black stripes aside, I think that your analog one looks fine. Yeah. I think that for me, the limiting factor on getting lots of modules is obviously cost is one of them. I don't want to spend all of my money forever on this stuff. And the second one is space. Like, if something is not actively in one of my two cases, it's got to live somewhere in my room. And I live in a finite space. So, a module is small, but I keep the boxes of everything that I buy in case I want to swap them out or sell them at some point. And so I've got several big boxes of module boxes in my closet. And that is, can get out of hand on its own. Yeah, Shackmat is kind of nice looking. I don't really love the kind of like angled stripes on them. I kind of wish it didn't have that. I think it looks fine in general. Like, it definitely gives them like a distinctive look that is kind of like their signature. But I just feel like within the context of my otherwise very utilitarian sort of look, with the unstriped mutable instruments and IntelliGel modules, it kind of, that actually stands out more to me than your analog with the thick black borders. I don't know. For MS White. Actually, you know what? Let me zoom in on let me turn this off for a second. Let's see, zoom right. Yeah, this guy. So this module right here, this is Twigs from CalSynth, and it's a clone of Mutable Instruments branches. But you can see I have the actual branches too up here. And it's obviously a very different design because in the original branches, it has 2 channels and the control is a potentiometer. But in the clone version, it's 4 channels and they use sliders instead of pots. I got this first just because it was cheaper and I already had a module from CalSynth that I liked, the U grids. But what I discovered is I don't like this like very stark white. I thought it looked really bad in the case next to the silver modules. And B, I discovered that I don't think I ever used more than 2 channels on this at a time. And so it ended up being more valuable for me to get the real branches, which is 6 HP, as opposed to the 8 HP of Twigs. So I'm losing 2 channels of switch, but I'm gaining 2 HP, and the 2 HP was actually more important in terms of, as you can see, fitting all of this stuff into the case. I would have been short by 2 HP. You can see I have a blank in now, but that's because of a recent reorganization I did. And there will be something in here, I'm sure, before not too long. But prior to my recent reorg, when I had actually Mordax data was in this slot right here, And if you go back in a few of my videos, you'll see how it was laid out before. But like the way that I had this case, like I needed that 2 HP to get all this stuff to fit. So I ended up getting kind of, I think this, I kind of consider Twigs to be like one of my few sort of mistaken purchases, or like something that, I mean, not that the module was bad, it's just, it didn't work for what I was hoping for. And I think in general, I've been very lucky that with all this stuff that I bought, this really hasn't been anything where it was like, oh, I wish I hadn't bought this. It was a mistake, or I'm going to sell it. I don't think I've ever sold a module. Like everything, all the stuff that I've bought, I've kept. Some of this stuff did sit in the box. Like after, like Twigs, like after I took it out, I was like, well, I don't need 4 channels in addition to the 2 channels of the original branches. So it just sat in the box for a while. And I have it back in my pod now, just because I think it's more useful to have it in there than have nothing there. But once I get other stuff to fill in this smaller case, I think it'll probably just go back in the box. And this is one that I might actually sell at some point because I just never use it. But it's funny how these kinds of aesthetics can come into play for things like that. So yeah, these modules that are like white, I think I guess it would look good if it was next to a bunch of modules that were similarly white. But I think it really stood out in a bad way in my sort of silver looking case. The black ones do look good though. Yeah, absolutely. The grids, it's got the same kind of black matte that most of the stuff in my dark case does. So yeah, looks good. Yeah, I think if I ever, I mean, I'm not trying to, this case is kind of like purpose built, and I'm going to change out what's in it a lot, this little pod. So I'm not trying to go for like any sort of uniform color scheme on this, because it's I've considered these to be more kind of like a permanent install, quote unquote. Like obviously I'm going to change things, but I think I'm going to kind of keep up the theming and mostly keep the same modules in the case all the time. But if I were to get another larger case, I don't think I would try to stick to that. I think I would be much more just like anything goes in terms of the look. Because I feel like this is a good enough kind of like aesthetic centerpiece that I could have sort of satellite cases that don't need to follow a color scheme and wouldn't feel like they were just detracting from the feel of it for me. And I think it only looks weird when you have like mostly the same color, but 1 or 2 that don't match. I feel like that sticks out a lot. But if you have like a lot of sort of mixing and matching where your eye doesn't really catch on to a particular color pattern, then having them all be kind of like different colors next to each other is no big deal. Yeah, I guess if I was really going to puzzle it out, I could kind of like merge these 2 cases and like move half the black ones to the light case and half the light ones, and then kind of have them alternating. But I mean, part of the fun for me in designing this layout was like, how do I stick to the color scheme restriction, but also have a collection of modules that actually make sense to be together and are also laid out in such a way that it matches like a logical patching flow of like, you know, are 2 adjacent modules near each other for a reason, or just because they happen to fit? Like getting it into a situation where it made sense in addition to looking nice was kind of part of the fun for me. But that is part of my sick and twisted mind that I'm sure not everyone shares. Maybe some of you watching it, but certainly not everyone. Hey Tracy, yeah. We're doing color theory here. I mean, I'm sure you all have noticed that I also do color code my cables. I've seen some people say that you should, if you have multicolored cables, you should get all the same length of the same color, so that when you unpatch, you can easily get all of the same cables that are the same length by just looking at the colors, and it makes it super easy to group them together. I maybe would have done that if I had thought about it from the beginning, But what I've ended up doing is using colors based on function. So I use blue for clocks and gates and triggers. I use various shades of red for audio signals. Usually I try to use all red, but I tend to run out of cables because I don't have a huge amount of every single color. So what I've kind of ended up doing is like red is sort of like intermediate audio connections, and the sort of more, I don't even know what you call this color, like amber or brown or something, or maybe tan. I use this for kind of like end of chain and like effect sends and that kind of thing. And then I also tend to use them just like when I run out of red cables. So the red and the tan are kind of interchangeable. And then the green I use for CV and volt per octave signals, like anything variable. So I don't know. I obviously I run out of, a lot of times I use a lot of green cables for CV signals, and then I run out of green cables that are the right length. So sometimes I use these like clear ones, and I don't have like enough cables of every color to really stick to this scheme 100%. But in general, that's kind of how I start out, and I think it makes it easier for me to remember what things are doing at a glance. And in some cases, I feel like it's more useful for the educational videos I do where I'm trying to like explain what's happening. I think having a sort of like cable color per signal function is pretty good in terms of like a teaching tool. Because obviously I'm not going to be, like, people watching an educational video get no benefit from the colors matching the length of the cable and making unpatching easier for me. Like that would only save me time in unpatching. And that's not a problem for me because I actually like unpatching. Like when I unpatch everything and I put all my cables back in their rack, I do it like slowly and I listen to music or watch a video or something while I'm doing it. And I find it actually very relaxing and kind of meditative. So for me, it's no problem that it takes longer to patch or to unpatch because I'm not using like length color coding. No problem at all. Yeah, I think everyone has kind of, well, at least people that do like functional cable coloring, probably, everyone has got a different system. And it doesn't really matter as long as it makes sense to you. I did the drop on the wrong beat. Well, y'all won't tell on me, will you? You'll forgive me for being off by a beat. Yep, understood, Tracy. I feel the same way. Oh no, form. You caught me. Okay, let me do another drop, then that'll all sync us back up on the downbeat on the one. Oh yeah, stackable cables, that's a problem. Oh man, I muted the delay again and didn't notice. Fail. I am not good at performing improvising live while talking and looking to the side at my YouTube chat. But y'all are helping me practice this. back on one now? Are we all in sync? You know you're in trouble if you have more modules than you have cables. I don't, by the way. I definitely have more cables than modules. As my partner likes to remind me, she's like, how could you possibly have bought more cables again this week? You must have at least one of every cable in existence by this point. And yet, the next week I find some other thing that I can't do without a different kind of cable that I don't have yet. Yeah, the delay is C-Legs. C-Legs is awesome. Ghost. I considered that early on as my first effects module, but I ended up getting Iteritas black stereo delay 2 and reverb instead. And then ironically they ended up in a box forever. But Ghost is great. It's got a lot of versatility. I feel like Ghost is like the plates of the effects. He just does everything. So really good for a small case or like a starter case or something that's versatile so you can use it for something different in each patch. that. Yeah, that's a bummer. Well, it's digital, right? It has to be with all that stuff in it. I mean, I feel like that's can be a problem with modular in general. I hear the usual advice is just make music that's so noisy you don't hear the noise anyway. I'm not sure that's great advice, but I guess it works. Yeah. Oh, Tracy, don't get me started on pedals. I was afraid that was going to become the gold sync. Why did I just say gold sync? I've been playing too much World of Warcraft. I meant money sync. Yeah, I have more modules than I have pedals, but I have a decent amount of pedals too. Yeah. I think Vic X is like the most popular module in a long time, right? Or certainly of the last year. I don't know. I think, I don't know why it doesn't really grab me. Like, my sort of, gut reaction is that it's because, it's just kind of like another sort of computer in a box sort of digital module. But I can't really use that as the reason because I have a bunch of that kind of stuff. In fact, the stuff we're using right now are just digital modules. The Alia platform. Another thing that it might be is, plates. This, I don't know if do you guys know Jay Hosking, another YouTuber who does really awesome electronic music? This is his plates. I bought it from him. And the reason he said that he didn't want to keep it, even though it's so popular and everyone loves it, is like, he's not really into the sort of macro oscillator thing, where you have to look at a manual every time you want to use the thing, and every control does a different thing depending on what mode you're in. And I sort of understand what he's coming from, and I've come to feel more that way over time using plates, that it's just got so many modes, I can't remember what all the controls do in every mode. And so realistically, I end up using a small number of the modes, the ones that I just, through repetition get to know better. And I feel like something like VicX is kind of along those lines, where it's like all the controls do something different in each of the different algorithms, and I feel like I just don't want to learn that. Maybe I'd feel different if I just spent some time with it, but I think that's part of why I've kind of I've had my fill of that type of module for a while. I feel like I don't really want more of them right now. Not to say never, but I think I'm more interested in getting more into more analog stuff. Like, I think the work that Breeze does with your analog is very inspiring, to come up with a lot of interesting things just from analog signal paths. And that's not one of those, like, analog is better than digital or whatever. But I just feel like it, for me, for, liking the sort of puzzle aspect and, like, really learning about modular and sound design, and just developing my own musicianship, I feel like having the creativity being in the patching in some ways is like kind of more serving those ends. Whereas something where it's just like a single module that's really just a computer in module format that does a whole bunch of things, but it's kind of just a black box, and it's very dependent on what the software is programmed to do and what controls they choose to expose to the software, feels in some ways, though, even though it can make a lot of cool sounds, like it's in some ways it's kind of less interesting in a modular format. Yeah, it's also ironic that Jay said that about plates, given that he now loves VicX, which I feel is kind of similar in the idea of like a multi-algorithmic digital module. So I guess, you don't have to have a consistent opinion on everything. And sometimes like the value of the sound that it creates for you can be worth, overlooking some degree of sort of black box, needing to check the manual sort of thing. But I think also with VicX, I think part of why it's popular is that you kind of don't need to know what all the things do in the various algorithms, because you're kind of intended to just sort of play it by ear and like listen, and it's another one of those modules where like it's mostly all sweet spots, so you just kind of twiddle and wiggle and you get something interesting and for most people pleasing. Oh really? You think it hasn't been as much as you expected, huh? I assume I'll get to try one at some point, and then I'll be able to just form some sort of real-world opinions of my own. But yeah, I don't know. Right now, I don't feel super inspired by it. Of the stuff that I have, the drone oscillator that I've enjoyed the most is Toros Iteritas Alia, which is one of the firmwares for the Alia platform. That thing I like a lot. If you go through my videos for the last couple of years, you'll see it used quite a bit. I also like sampling it into the tempera. So I've used it on, I don't know, at least 3 or 4 songs. I think it sounds really, really nice as a drone oscillator, which is what it was made for. Getting close to the VicX sound, running any oscillator through the Oneroid. Oh, interesting. I wonder for the people that like do DSP programming, if they're more interested by other digital modules that might otherwise seem like a black box because they kind of understand more of like what was required to create it, or maybe have some more insight into what it's actually doing to achieve the sounds that it makes. And so it maybe feels like less of a black box, even if it's not open source. Oh yeah, Vic X threw on the right. There you go. Just double down on the madness. Go for a big finale because I think it's about time to wrap the stream up. Beautiful. Well, this was fun. I didn't know exactly where it was going to go. I mean, I had a kind of an idea of using Mimetic lapsus sauce into noise engineering macro oscillator, but yeah, that was pretty cool. It's been not a lot of chat today. I really appreciate y'all stopping by and really participating. It's a lot of fun for me to be able to talk to people that are really into this crazy hobby that we're all doing. Let me just catch up, see if there's anything important that I missed. Not that there's any messages that are not important, but anything that I might want to respond to. Yeah. Yes. You know, that comment about using less melody and more modulation, and then you don't have to change the sequence as much. This is something that I feel like I'm guilty of a lot, which is making sequences that are too like melodically busy. And then when I listen to other people's music and I'm like, this is just the same note over and over, but it's so much more catchy than what I'm doing. And so I have to remember that like having a sequence that's actually more sparse, either in terms of not having a huge number of pitch changes, or just kind of like a simpler rhythm, or like fewer triggers essentially. In 16 steps, just try putting down 3 triggers. You don't have to have a pitch on and a gate on every step to make a good sequence. In fact, it's less likely to be memorable because you need some degree of rhythm, some degree of syncopation, and definitely, very obvious repetition to make a sequence that really can get you into the groove and can get you just wanting to listen to the same thing. But yeah, also I think that what you're hitting on here, where you can just do a lot of sort of modulation changes without changing the sequence, I think that that's what Incus and Bassimilus are really good at, is just kind of throwing a lot of unpredictable modulation at it, and doing a lot of randomization of its parameters. And it works with techno, especially because it's like, it's a genre that is all about sound design and timbral changes and most of it is not like something that a classical composer would have written, not that any electronic music is, but it's, you don't need music theory to do it. You don't need to understand chords really, or harmony. It's really all about the sound design and the rhythm and the feel and the energy. And so I think this is a really good combination for that, which is kind of what I was imagining here. And I don't think it disappointed, which seems to be everyone's in agreement of that. Anyway, yeah, so I've been doing this for about 2 hours now. I try not to do it more than that, so I don't use up all of the thoughts in my head on a single stream. I want to be able to make this sustainable and keep doing it every week. So I think there's been a few people that were new this time. Again, thank you very much for everyone that's stopped by and watched the stream. I guess I'll just end with my usual spiel that I'm doing these once a week. I have been doing them on different days, although always at the same time. So I've been doing them Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday pretty much, but it's not necessarily on the same day every week, partly depending on my schedule and partly because I'm trying to find a time that seems to be, the best suited for my audience. Like if there's a day that people seem to be able to make it more, then that's probably the better choice. And also I was doing them on Fridays for a while, and where I live in the United States, people are at work during that time. So I wanted to do them on the weekends once in a while so that people who are working during the normal time slot would have a chance to attend. Anyway, so if you want to keep up on when the next streams are, obviously subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also sign up for Patreon. There's a free tier, so if you just want to keep track of like when the streams are, I make a post a few days in advance of when there's going to be a stream, so you can keep track of the schedule for that. I do have a paid tier for $5 a month. And the paid tier will give you access to audio downloads of any of the musical performances that I post to the channel. And a new feature for a new benefit for the paid tier is patch notes. So I do a lot of educational modular content in addition to musical performances. And those videos are kind of deep technical dives and like patch examples and all that kind of stuff. Maybe some of you have seen them before. But from now on, whenever I do a video like that, I'll be writing up text patch notes with step-by-step instructions for how to do sort of the key ingredients of what I did in those patches. And people in the supporter tier on Patreon will get access to those. So that's a great benefit. I also have a Discord server. Obviously, you all enjoy chatting about modular, so I hope you'll join Discord, which you can do for free. And we can chat about that there. If you subscribe on Patreon to the paid tier, you also get access to additional channels on Discord for different topics. So I hope you will consider that if you find what I'm doing useful and enjoyable. And if not, no problem. I really appreciate everyone just stopping by and dropping some comments and some ideas in the chat. It's been an absolute pleasure for me, as it always is. And I will see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.